The Explainer. We are jumping right into today's absolutely chaotic car market to help you figure out a massive choice: gas or electric. If you're a first-time buyer, or honestly, even if you're just starting to browse, you know things are wild out there right now. We've got massive industry recalls, completely shifting tech landscapes, and wild interest rates. So my goal today is to break the whole shebang down for you step by step, using the latest data so you can actually make a confident, informed choice in this rapidly evolving market. Let's get into it.
Right off the bat, let's just address the elephant in the room. Buying a car right now feels incredibly overwhelming, doesn't it? As a first-time buyer, you aren't just picking out a fun color or deciding if you want leather seats. You are stepping into a market literally defined by soaring auto loan interest rates, endless headlines about massive vehicle recalls, and EV technology that seems to upgrade every single month. You're trying to weigh the long-term fuel savings of going electric against the immediate, painfully high costs of financing. Honestly, it's totally enough to cause some serious decision paralysis.
And then there's this number, perfectly illustrating the immediate financial pain for gas drivers right now: $4.24. That's a recent national average for a single gallon of gas. Ouch, right? When you're sitting down doing the math on your monthly budget, that number just glares right back at you. If you're comparing a traditional combustion engine to an EV, this high cost of fuel is absolutely one of the heaviest weights sitting on the go electric side of the scale. But, as we're going to see, the cost of gas is really just one piece of a much larger, much more complex puzzle.
So, what's the broader picture? Well, those high interest rates are basically forcing buyers to just hit the pause button, creating a massive cooldown across the entire auto industry. Dealerships and market analysts are reporting a really sharp pullback in new car sales, and the reason is simple: those rates are drastically increasing monthly financing costs. Instead of taking on a super expensive new loan, a ton of drivers are choosing to just hang on to their older vehicles, or they're shifting their focus entirely to the used car market. For a first-time buyer, this means the financial barrier to entry for a brand new vehicle, whether it runs on gas or electricity, is higher than it's been in years.
Okay, let's pivot and look at the practical realities of ownership. We really need to contrast the headaches of legacy gas platforms, complicated combustion engines with hundreds of moving parts that constantly need maintenance, against the relative mechanical simplicity of the new wave of electric SUVs entering the market. Because a huge part of choosing a car is understanding what actually happens after you drive it off the lot. On one side of the industry, we're seeing some major disruptive issues with traditional and hybrid vehicles. But on the flip side, we've got highly anticipated EV models arriving that are specifically designed to make the transition away from gas as painless as humanly possible.
This perfectly illustrates exactly what I mean. When we talk about gas car maintenance, it's not just the routine annoyance of scheduling an oil change or swapping out spark plugs. Sometimes it involves significant structural risks that are just inherent to complex combustion systems. Stellantis recently issued a massive recall for the Jeep brand, covering over 1 million Wranglers and Gladiators, specifically due to a potential fire risk. And crazy enough, this came right on the heels of another recall involving 65,000 of their plug-in hybrids. If you're buying a car today, you've got to factor in the reality that legacy automotive platforms are still dealing with incredibly disruptive, large-scale safety recalls that can literally pull your car right off the road.
On the entirely other side of the spectrum, testers are describing the upcoming mid-size 2027 Rivian R2 in a way that should greatly reassure any anxious first-time EV buyers out there. The initial first-drive reviews are out for this highly anticipated electric SUV, and the consensus is incredibly positive. Critics are calling it smooth, comfortable, and a highly capable challenger to your mainstream gas-powered SUVs. By being described as normal and easy to love, the Rivian R2 represents a major shift in how EVs are made. They aren't just building quirky spaceships for tech enthusiasts anymore. They're building practical, comfortable vehicles designed to just be your reliable daily driver.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how the industry's finally solving EV range anxiety by unifying behind a single charging standard. If you've been hesitant to buy an EV because you're worried about finding a plug that actually fits your car, the industry has finally heard you. Major automakers, including absolute giants like General Motors, are officially committing to the North American Charging Standard, or NACE. This is essentially the Tesla-style charging port, and it's going to be standard on all their upcoming 2027 models. Honestly, this is a total game changer. It means you won't have to carry a trunk full of weird adapters just to take a weekend road trip. And this unified standard builds into an entirely new charging ecosystem. General Motors, for instance, is building a system that makes finding and paying for a charge as simple as swiping your card at the gas pump. Think about the past experience for a second. It was incredibly fragmented. You needed a dozen different apps, multiple accounts, and you were constantly fighting with mixed, confusing port hardware. Now look at the new GM Energy Pass model. It integrates most major fast charging networks into one single app. It features simple plug-and-charge functionality, meaning you literally just plug the car in and it handles the payment automatically behind the scenes. Combined with those NACS ports by 2027, the whole infrastructure hurdle that scared away so many first-time buyers, it's rapidly disappearing.
So if the charging networks are expanding and finally getting easier to use, you might be asking yourself a pretty valid question. How long is the actual battery technology inside your car going to last? Because it's one thing to easily plug your car in, but it's another thing entirely if that battery starts losing its capacity or if replacing it in half a decade is going to cost you an absolute fortune. Well, this is where the underlying chemistry of the EV market is getting a major update.
This is a massive shift. Moving to sodium-ion chemistry could make long-term EV ownership significantly cheaper and much more sustainable for the average driver. General Motors recently announced plans to develop these sodium-ion battery cells as a direct alternative to the current lithium-ion standard. Why does this matter to you? Well, lithium is highly expensive and intensely resource-heavy to mine. Sodium, on the other hand, is completely abundant and dramatically cheaper. If automakers can successfully scale sodium-ion batteries, it means the sticker price of new EVs could drop dramatically, and replacing a battery down the road won't completely drain your life savings.
But we also have to look at the geopolitical supply chain. This proposed ban on foreign auto components is absolutely crucial to monitor because it could severely impact the future availability and cost of replacement parts for your vehicle. Right now, there's massive momentum building in Washington for legislation aimed at completely banning Chinese vehicles and their auto components from entering the U.S. market. The stated drivers for this legislation are rooted in technology concerns, data security, and protecting domestic trade. Now, regardless of where you personally stand on the politics of this, the practical reality for you as a car buyer is that a ban on foreign components could radically alter the automotive supply chain. If replacement parts suddenly become much harder to source because of international trade bans, the cost to repair your vehicle, whether it's gas or electric, could rise significantly.
So as you weigh the immediate fuel savings of an EV against the rapidly evolving technology landscape and these shifting global supply chains, you really have to ask yourself, what role does this first vehicle truly play in your life? Are you buying a gas car right now to safely ride out the next 5 years of EV development? Or are you jumping into an EV today to immediately cut out that $4.24 a gallon gas cost, fully accepting that battery tech like sodium-ion might outpace your car in the near future? There's really no wrong answer here, but understanding these shifting dynamics is the only way to make the choice that is right for you. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and hopefully this gives you the clarity you need for your next big drive.